Ever wondered how a middle-class Indian boy became the CEO of Google? From a small town in India to the heart of Silicon Valley, Sundar Pichai's journey is more exciting than a Bollywood blockbuster. Let's rewind and relive his incredible story. Behind the screens of our devices lies a remarkable story of ambition and intelligence. From launching electric cars into space to revolutionizing how we work in the cloud, these tech titans have reshaped our world over the last decade. In this three-part series, we're diving deep into the lives of the visionaries leading the charge: Elon Musk, Satya Nadella, and, in today's part, from a humble upbringing in India to Silicon Valley's highest-paid CEO, Sundar Pichai's journey is more than a success story. It's a masterclass in resilience and innovation. Imagine stepping off a plane at 23 with a scholarship, your family's life savings as your ticket, and a mind full of dreams. Now, fast forward to the man behind Google's global transformation, from the creation of Chrome to the AI-driven future of Alphabet. Join us as we explore how Pichai broke boundaries, fueled by an unyielding vision to connect the world. Welcome to Tech Titans of the Decade. The Tectonic Plate presents Part 1, Sundar Pichai. Sundar Pichai had humble beginnings in India to become one of the highest-paid CEOs of American companies by leading Google and Alphabet. When Sundar Pichai set foot on American soil at the age of 23, he thought of all the dreams of elite Indian students. He had finally arrived in the land of Silicon Valley, the ideal world of engineers, managers, and successful technology entrepreneurs. But the difference between his old and new society soon took on a different color. It wasn't just that the country, dubbed the Land of Immigrants, was even more advanced than the pictures in magazines and the dreams of its friends. Rather, the first thing that shocked him was the very high cost of living and prices that could not be compared to his native land. At that time, Pichai never thought that 24 years later, he would hold the record for the highest salary among CEOs of American companies. He did not even guess that one day he will become a role model for the youth of India. The starting point. Sundar Pichai was born on June 10, 1972, in the city of Mudra, Tamil Nadu, India, in an educated and intellectual family that was financially in the middle class of society. In those days, middle class in India meant living in a small two-bedroom apartment, without the basic amenities such as television and even a simple refrigerator that are taken for granted today. Sundar's mother, Lakshmi, was a stenographer before giving up her career for the sake of her children. His father, Raghunatha, was an electronic engineer and worked for the British company that produces electrical components called General Electric Company, GEC. Father's stories about the factory and the events that happened there, the tools that were produced, and the obstacles that existed in the industrial world slowly shaped Sundar's mentality of the future world. Despite all the limitations, Sundar's parents placed great emphasis on the education of their two children and encouraged them to pursue their interests and talents seriously. Sundar's first direct encounter with electronics came when the family managed to buy a telephone after a long time. This flow was too exciting for 12-year-old Sundar, and he spent hours checking the phone's performance. While watching his enthusiasm, his parents noticed another interesting thing: how quickly Sundar memorized all the phone numbers after just hearing them once. The power of Pichai's memory made his colleagues admire him years later. The movement of middle-class people in India was limited to public transport, and the Pichai family was no exception. Sundar had no experience of driving private cars until he was a teenager, and he was not upset about this because his studies, sports, and childhood adventures were more interesting activities for him. Sundar completed his high school education at Jawaharlal Vidyalaya School in Chennai. Later, his teachers would mention his inquisitive nature and his willingness to delve deeply into subjects that piqued his interest in any way. One of the high school teachers recognized Sundar's potential and tried to teach him critical thinking, a methodical approach to solving problems and striving for excellence. With the support of this teacher, Sundar learned the importance of perseverance and flexibility in life, and his character and professional ethics were founded from here. Pichai's drive to succeed in academia led him to the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT, Kharagpur, where he obtained his degree in metallurgical engineering and was selected as the top student of the year. His brilliant academic record and distinctive approach to problem-solving earned him a scholarship to Stanford University. Pichai later said in an interview with Bloomberg about his childhood and adolescence,
"My parents always emphasized, learning and knowledge, and it's what, in some ways, Google with its mission, always resonated very deeply with me. I felt this quest for learning, knowledge, etc. is what the company is about too. I grew up in a middle-class family. I perceived our life through the arrival of gadgets. We waited 5 years for a telephone. It was a rotary phone. But when it came to our home, it changed everyone's lives. I remember getting our first television and suddenly being able to watch sports. I used to bike a long way to school, but there was no gear in the bike and I had to go uphill. But then after many years, I got a bike with gears and I'm like, wow, this thing what a dramatic difference. I never took technology for granted. And so that's what, always been optimistic about how technology can make a difference.
As a teenager, Pichai loved football, cricket, India's most popular sport, and also chess, and wrote his first computer program for playing chess. Pichai received a scholarship to Stanford University, but his efforts to find a loan to get to America were unsuccessful. His family had to give him all their savings to buy the ticket for this trip, the amount which was more than Sundar's father's income for 1 year. Accordingly, Sundar Pichai arrived in the United States in 1995 at the age of 23 and began his master's studies in the field of materials science and engineering. As a student, he focused on the building blocks of computers, such as density, molecular mechanics, semiconductors, and most importantly, materials that might make good semiconductors. The Guardian later wrote that Pichai's technical knowledge was very important to Google. Although Google founders Sergey Brin and Larry Page studied computer engineering, they were closer to the software side, and Pichai understood hardware well. Pichai was going to get his PhD from Stanford University, but then he gave up, and after getting his master's degree, he went to Silicon Valley to try his luck for a career at a prestigious company. He later said,
I still once in a while have a conversation with my dad. I think I disappointed him a little bit, not getting that PhD, but I literally came to Silicon Valley. For me, it was as literal. This was the place where semiconductors were built. I came here for the silicon in Silicon Valley, and I did was a PhD student in material science. I was studying semiconductor physics, and definitely that's what I thought I would do. A few things. One is I was surrounded by other grad students who had worked on, at the time, what was the rage. It was superconductors, what was called high TC superconductors, and I realized many of them had spent their life and it didn't happen. And so that gave me pause, and I think something you all probably deal with, being in the valley, there's so much happening outside. There's a lot that beckons outside, and so I was definitely interested in that. I had financial reasons to go get a job, and so the combination of all that made me go out and be in industry. And
Pichai worked throughout his studies and sent some of his earnings to his family in India. Sundar Pichai says about his entry into Silicon Valley.
Great learning moment. The semiconductor industry is extraordinarily cyclical. In my first year, in the company I worked, we hired 3,000 people, and the next year we laid off 1,700 people. And so you get out and you go through that life learning. But that was the early days of the internet too, and definitely seeing what the promise the internet had and connecting it back to what I wanted to do, was what led me find my way back to Google. And I went to business school along the way, not here, but another great school, and eventually made it back to the Valley.
After entering the land of his dreams, Pichai was first employed as a materials engineer and consulting manager at McKinsey, and then worked for a while at the semiconductor company Applied Materials. After that, Pichai realized that in order to succeed in Silicon Valley, in addition to engineering knowledge, he also had to learn business management. For this reason, in 2002, he returned to the university once again and started studying in the master's degree of MBA at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. At Wharton, he received the title of Siebel Scholar and Palmer Scholar. In April 2004, Pichai participated in the Google job interview. This day coincided exactly with the day that Gmail service was introduced to the world. Sundar, like most people, thought the idea of a free email service was Google's April Fool's Day. Pichai successfully passed the interview and started working in this company as a product manager of the Google Search Bar department. The goal of the project was to make it easier for users to access the Google search engine without having to open the web page every time. Pichai's success in delivering the final results paved the way for his next two consecutive projects, Google Gears and Google Pack. Google was a 6-year-old company in 2004, setting its sights on developing search-centric products. At that time, there was no Google Chrome yet, and one of Pichai's bold actions was to propose a browser that could replace Microsoft's Internet Explorer. Eric Schmidt, CEO of Google at the time, did not agree with this, because he thought that Google was still too young to enter the web browser market. In 2006, Microsoft introduced Bing as the default Internet Explorer search engine, and it was here that the importance of Pichai's earlier ideas became clear to the company's founders. This competition was an inevitable competition, and if Google did not think of a plan for it, Microsoft would swallow all of Google's achievements. Google's board of directors appointed a team of experts led by Sundar Pichai to develop a new browser called Google Chrome. In 2008, Pichai was promoted to the position of vice president of Google, and Chrome was introduced to the world in the same year. Eric Schmidt later admitted that although he was an early opponent of the development of the new browser, he was very excited when he saw Pichai's first design. Chrome quickly gained acceptance among users that few expected. A few years later, there were few people who did not prefer this browser to its Microsoft counterpart. A year after the introduction of the browser, Pichai also introduced the Chrome operating system, which, of course, remained at the level of Chromebook educational laptops, but made Pichai one of the main members of the Google company. Pichai remained as CEO until 2012 and was responsible for the development of Chrome and its applications. After a decade of fruitful and profitable activity, another turning point in his professional life came, which caught the eye of all technology activists. Pichai was recognized as the most influential man of the year in the world of technology, and as Andy Rubin, the creator of the Android operating system, responsible for managing and monitoring all Android products. Android upgrade entered a new phase with the introduction of Android 1.0. At the same time, Sundar Pichai was the senior supervisor of Google Maps, Google Drive, and Gmail projects. The important characteristic of Pichai's personality as a product manager was that although he always had a clear vision of his projects, he also sought the opinion of his colleagues at every stage and proceeded with the collective agreement. He stressed that his team achieved the best possible results, but at the same time, he was careful not to harm other teams. On the other hand, Google once chose Sundar Pichai as the company's new CEO, and Twitter was also looking to attract him. Pichai has proven to be an emerging leader and key manager. Larry Page has said that he sees no one as close to his ideas as Sundar Pichai. He also said,
Sundar has an uncanny knack for developing products that are both technically excellent and easy to work with. He likes big steps and risks.
One of Pichai's professors at the IIT faculty of India said about this appointment,
I knew he would reach such a position. I had seen this day. When he became the vice president of Google, I told everyone that this is a start. He will go straight to the top.
Pichai's Wikipedia page was edited 350 times in his first week as CEO of Google. Pichai was against spreading rumors about his life in India and exaggerating his personality. And in one of the podcasts of Stanford University, he expressed his dissatisfaction with people who tried to make his childhood and adolescence look different from reality. Pichai began the conversation with the podcast host by saying,
Advice I would have for all of you is don't read about yourself online.
Were you the captain of your high school cricket team?
I would have loved to be, but I was quite far from it, yeah. Growing up for me, every technology transition was very vivid, even as a kid, because I had to wait a long time for it. We were on a wait list for a rotary telephone. It took 5 years to be on the wait list and get the phone. People who would come to our house to make calls, I saw how it created a sense of community. So I've always had this vivid sense of how technology can make a profound difference. And so a lot of what I've tried to do is bring that access to technology. What I got a lot more of it when I came to Stanford. Walking to Sweet Hall at the time and seeing rows of computers was life-changing for me. A big part of it is, if you look at our products, search works everywhere around the world. We take pride in providing it, and it's accessible to everyone as long as they have computing and connectivity. Google works for you, and that's the philosophy we bring across our products, be it Gmail, be it Maps, be it YouTube. So we think about scale, being able to reach people and make technology more accessible, and it's what I wanted to do in my life, and so it's a privilege to do it.
Google became a fully organized company under the management of Sundar Pichai. Android developed alongside iOS and took root in the smartphone industry. Google's search engine algorithms continued to improve, and the company made its way into the fields of machine learning, augmented reality, and e-commerce. Pichai played a key role in the development of Google's cloud computing services. Many Silicon Valley experts thought he was putting too much energy into the infrastructure of artificial intelligence services, and that products like Google Assistant would soon expire. But again, the value of Pichai's foresight in this field became clear several years later, when the artificial intelligence renaissance took the technology market by storm. As Pichai's first major achievement, Chrome became the undisputed king of the crowded web browser market, but Pichai's trajectory continued to be unpredictable.
He recruited, mentored, and retained a great team,
Says former Google product manager Chris Beckman. Sundar Pichai's team was made up of the best people and achieved a reputation similar to that of Google's search engine engineering team. In 2019, Larry Page and Sergey Brin stepped down as CEOs of Alphabet and announced that Google and Alphabet companies do not need separate CEOs, but want a single powerful head. Sundar Pichai was a person who built effective teams, oversaw product strategies and execution processes, and collaborated with other internal groups and external companies. He also identified the needs of the market in time and fought for short-term challenges and long-term goals. The founders of Google knew very well that they would not find a better choice than Pichai to lead the entire Alphabet group. Managing Alphabet was a new and tense chapter in Pichai's career, as Alphabet, from its inception, supported diverse and sometimes unknown businesses, many of which are still obscure to most people. On the other hand, this company was under the scrutiny of the American government and the European Union. Pichai focused primarily on investing in and developing self-driving cars, biodiversity, and sustainable technologies. Then he adjusted the company's revenue generation and profitability strategies and expanded the artificial intelligence department at the same time. According to Forbes, at the end of 2019, with a total income and bonus of $280.6 million, he was ranked first in the list of the highest-paid executives of American companies. Pichai has been subpoenaed several times by U.S. government officials to clarify Alphabet's policies. Of course, earlier in 2018, the House of Representatives Judiciary Committee had criticized Sundar Pichai as the highest executive of Google regarding the company's plans in the field of protecting user privacy and relations with China. 2 years later, Pichai appeared before Congress as an Alphabet executive to testify about the big company's antitrust concerns. The flow of U.S. government surveillance and complaints surrounding Google's monopolistic tactics continues to this day. In 2020, Google fired Timnit Gebru, one of its artificial intelligence specialists, and it was followed by many controversies and scandals. Gebru's firing comes weeks after she was asked to retract a paper she published on the dangers of large language models. She also complained about the company's treatment of minority employees. Many employees at the company were upset by Gebru's firing, and Gebru said in an interview that Sundar Pichai and other Google executives had created a hostile work environment. Pichai finally apologized for the way the company treated Gebru and wrote to his employees.
I want to say how sorry I am for these events, and I personally take all the responsibility of regaining your trust.
In 2020, Pichai was at the forefront of Google's response to the corona pandemic. Under his leadership, Google developed new strategies to help people find correct news and useful information about the coronavirus in their searches. Like many other companies, Alphabet also put hiring more workers on its agenda at the beginning of the pandemic. Pichai hired about 37,000 new employees in the first 12 months of the outbreak, but then ran into the same problem that most big tech companies face. The only way to offset the resulting costs was to lay off employees. In January 2023, Alphabet had to lay off 12,000 employees, which was equivalent to 6% of the company's global workforce. Pichai once again took responsibility for all the decisions that led to this situation. The continuation of 2023 was the development of artificial intelligence chatbot, Bard, and then Gemini, and dealing with their challenges. Sundar Pichai said in 2016 that Google will one day become the leading company in the field of artificial intelligence. But with competitors such as OpenAI and Microsoft, it will not be easy to make such a wish come true. Google announced that it will add its artificial intelligence to all Google Workspace tools, including Search, Gmail, Docs, and other products. One of the most important barriers that stand in the way of the development of large language models of Google and other artificial intelligence companies is the copyright issue of the resources that are used to train these models. On the other hand, Google Gemini had other problems. In early 2024, Pichai was forced to put the instrument's image-generating capability on hold after people complained that the model produced inaccurate historical photos of U.S. presidents. Pichai sent a note to his staff confirming Gemini's faults. He also said to the users,
I understand that some of Gemini's answers have offended people and contained gross biases. These issues cannot be justified and accepted. We have made a mistake.
The successive problems of Alphabet and Google raised the voices calling for the resignation of Sundar Pichai from the leadership of the company. However, Google's AI plans have progressed to the point where the 2024 Google I/O event showcased Android's AI-powered redesign to take on Apple more seriously than ever. Although Sundar Pichai is not the only Indian-origin CEO of the world's biggest tech companies. The people of this country consider him a true hero. Pichai has also repeatedly reminded that the two main priorities of his professional life are Google and India. Since he was appointed CEO of Google, he has traveled to his home country almost every year and met with government officials, students, and entrepreneurs. In his conferences in India, Pichai usually talks about India's digital transformation and economic development, the importance of promoting entrepreneurship, and the opportunities and challenges of technology, as well as ways to realize a digital workforce in the country. In July 2020, Pichai announced the allocation of a $10 billion fund to India, which will be invested in this country over 5 to 7 years under the supervision of Google's Digitalization Fund. In April 2021, following the consequences of the corona epidemic, Pichai and Google employees donated a budget of 135 crore rupees to UNICEF and the Give India charity to purchase medical equipment, support high-risk communities, and help spread vital information to the people of India. In 2022, Pichai received the prestigious Padma Bhushan Award from the Indian ambassador to America. He said in this ceremony,
India is a part of me, and I take it with me wherever I go. I am deeply grateful to the people and government of India for this great honor and award. It is extremely valuable for me that the country in which I have deep roots and formed my identity makes me proud like this.
Google, under the management of Sundar Pichai, has developed more than during the chairmanship of its founders and has become one of the fiercest competitors in various technology markets. Larry Page once said that he and Pichai only need to look at each other to understand each other. But as Pichai himself said last year, we live in a rapidly changing and unstable world, and we have no time to stop at our safe place. Continuing Pichai's success at Alphabet will also require tougher decisions and smarter competition with tech companies, especially in the AI space. What will Pichai do to silence the whispers asking him to step down? Where will the efforts of people who work for de-Google campaigns? Sundar Pichai's life history is intertwined with resilience in the face of adversity and the will to achieve the best results. And it is unlikely that this story will end soon. This part ends here from the series of 3 parts. 2 more episodes left of Tech Titans of the Decade, Satya Nadella and Elon Musk. Remember, like, comment, and sharing this video is a big help to us. We will be happy to have you as our guest next week.